how the founders who would have scaled up, and as well as they would have a clear vision, a product that is working well, and now after scaling up, there would be newer areas where they can start looking at. So what would be these white spaces in this industry where you are in, where you can claim that we still have a lot of room of innovation in these X, Y, or Z areas in terms of regulatory and compliance within the BFSI segment?
So there's loads of it. I know you've been interviewing payments providers. So when you look at it, payments moved from physical to digital and digital to mobile. So there's a lot more room to go even in that space. So now when you look at the RegTech space as an example, RegTech is very interesting because A, it's anti-cyclical, and second, regulations never stop. So it is something that keeps coming and you can never run out of ideas in this business. So that's the best part of saying why RegTech. It could be construed as boring, but it's not boring because something keeps happening. So I think you're as new as the latest regulation. So let me explain probably with an example of how we grew, right? One, we started with the NPA thing, which was our first product. And for instance, the COVID crisis has itself brought in a lot of opportunity, if you will, in the space, because what's happened is that it is an event, it's a black swan event, nobody would have forecasted. So now if you look at, is there any data such as this? There's no data that, when such an event happened, how do you work with predictability models? You can't, because all the old models are gone out of date. So you can work a little bit with the AI trained data that is focused on the last 2 years and how that's happened. So for example, when the crisis hit, right, most companies in their annual reports had to say this is the loss due to our COVID crisis, right? And most of that was not quantified. So we came up with a product that said we will help you quantify the losses. As in, if a vaccine, if you were back to business in March of 2021 versus 22, or in the last December of 2022, here's how you would look like. And that would be based on things such as your accounts payable, accounts receivable, commodity availability, supply chain disruptions, amongst other parameters, your kind of exposure to different sectors. All sectors now, it's a K-shaped recovery because all of them are going at different curves. So let's say a bank or an institution has more exposure to a certain industry, or even if it's a corporate that's dependent on multiple sectors, we could model that and come up with a quantifiable model with certainty on your revenue stream. That is a new product, and that came out of a complete, response to a crisis. How do you kind of help businesses have the predictability quotient nailed down, right? And then work on improvements and say, if I improved ABC parameter, then maybe the revenue stream will be better. So I need not focus on, these 6 variables. I'm going to focus on 24 other variables. So I think that was something that we come up with. Post-crisis, that is being used as, widely in different geographies for model risk management. So that model of the COVID model was something that can be adapted to real life models in different scenarios. So I think that's a white space if you would look at. So even in terms of like cybersecurity risks boomed during the COVID crisis. So because everything became digital, but they didn't have the required measures in place. So how do you kind of make sure your GRC includes those cybersecurity risks, and how do you kind of mitigate that? That was another product that we launched. So I'm just giving you examples of how you can kind of take a base product and then kind of use it for different models, and keep watching out for what's happening next and model your products to get there.